Yes, Kalyan Singh's rise in politics, that clearly is related to the temple movement. And Kalyan Singh, as I said earlier on, he was always grounded in the ideology of Jansangh. He started his public life as a school teacher there in Natroli. He was a teacher of social sciences at the government college in Natroli. Then in 1967 he left the government job. He got fully involved with the RSS and the Jansangh. And in 1967, that was that was a turbulent time when Congress party has dominated the political spectrum. But Kalyan Singh was one of those very few leaders who actually raised the flag for Jansangh, not only won the Crawley seat in 1967, but continued to do so successively for almost 8 terms. In 1977, the Jansangh, we all know Jansangh got merged with the Janata Party in the post-emergency period. Kalyan Singh became the minister here in the UP government, in the Janata Party government. And then in 1980s, when BJP took up the cause of the Ram Mandir, Kalyan Singh was always at the forefront. So you talk about the 1984 period, 86, when the locks at the mosque were opened. Kalyan Singh was at the helm of affairs. From 1986 onwards to 1990, when the temple movement started gaining face, RSS was very keen of finding a man who could also address the caste equations. Because remember, when you talk about the car seva, when you talk about that zealous crowds who actually was at the forefront, it was mostly coming in from the backward communities. And Kalyan Singh, as a backward leader, was pitched in very strongly. His strong commitment to the ideology, the fact that he was a very good orator, the fact that he was a long-standing legislator, the fact that he was also, coming in from a caste which suited most. Because for BJP and RSS, the concern in Uttar Pradesh and the states like North India states had been that how, bridge the caste differences, create a caste consciousness along with the Hindutva ideology. And in that sense, Kalyan Singh was the most suitable face. And therefore we say that if you recall the history, go back to the history pages, you'll find that it was only one person for whom the RSS at one point in time said is our natural leader, and that was Kalyan Singh. Kalyan Singh was a natural leader. And then, of course, as the temple movement went on, we know that he has to lose the government, even go to a jail for a day for, not being able to stand committed to the affidavit he gave in Supreme Court. He couldn't preserve the Babri Mosque from being demolished. But he never, had grudges about it. In the off-record conversation, he always said that he is happy that way for Ram Temple is being cleared. Okay. But then there was also another fallout that since mosque being demolished and as this issue went on the backbench, Kalyan Singh was often complained that he didn't get that sort of recognition he used to get. So and then that turbulent phase started from 1999 onwards.
All right, Pranchu, stay on with us. Maria Shakil is also joining us with more details. Maria, we've already seen a condolence message coming in from the Lok Sabha Speaker. What else? Who else has condoled the death, first of all, of Kalyan Singh? Very important there for BJP, as Pranchu is mentioning, because of the OBC factor and also his participation in the temple movement.
Yes, absolutely. And if you remember, just a month ago, we did see those visuals of Yogi Adityanath and other BJP leaders, including BJP President JP Nadda, visit Kalyan Singh in the hospital. It was, of course, being linked to his relevance in UP politics, particularly keeping in mind the crucial OBC vote. But as Sanjay was pointing out, his contribution to the BJP at large, the primary thing being completely about the entire the temple movement, cannot be forgotten. But let's not forget that, he also left the BJP in 1999, and he formed, when he was removed from the party and left the BJP, he formed his own party. Then he re-entered the BJP in 2004. Then he went on to become the Member of Parliament from Bulandshahr. He left the BJP for the second time in 2009 and again successfully contested elections in 2009 as well. And then he joined BJP in 2015, and then he was made the governor of Rajasthan. He served a 5-year term, and then he re-entered politics in 2019. So he has had a long tenure with the party, someone who was seen as an important face, particularly keeping in mind the crucial OBC vote in Uttar Pradesh in particular. But, he as Pranchu also highlighted, that his role has been that of someone who could bring that very important constituency towards the BJP. It was no longer seen as just a party which was of the Brahmins and the Baniyas, the upper caste, but also that would have an acceptability among the crucial OBC constituency. And he also, in late 1990s, the BJP and its entire Hindu nationalist affiliates organized the Ram Rath Yatra. which was, of course, very important in the context of how the BJP's, the establishment as a party was. And Mr. Kalyan Singh has been very much about that. He played an important role in that. He also became the Chief Minister for the first time in June 1991. And as Chief Minister, Singh attempted to run an efficient administration also is what is being often talked about. But in the last couple of years, he had been largely inactive because of his health reasons. Now he passed away as details are coming in. But, for his role, particularly in the context of UP politics, is something that will be discussed repeatedly.
Maria, and also from what you are saying, it appears that he was a man, 89-year-old, but kept himself politically relevant all through his political career.
Yes, he did do that. And also in 2014, when, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government was formed, he was made the governor. So this was also a message being sent to him and his family, and of course to the crucial OBC constituency, of his relevance in politics. But he had taken ill, to be specific, on 3rd of July 2021, after he had complained of difficulty in breathing. He was admitted at Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, where the doctors had suspected some kind of renal issue. There had been several other complications that had started happening, and then he was transferred to the Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences in Lucknow for better treatment and management. And then he was put on life support system on 20th of July. Several party leaders from, BJP President JP Nadda to UP Governor Anandiben Patel to UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had visited Singh at the hospital. So, as far as party's recognition or his contribution is concerned, they would always ensure that he is seen as someone who was relevant in the party, although he was very much part of the Margdarshak Mandal. But he was also made the governor in 2014. He served for full 5 years, and then, of course, there was this entire criminal conspiracy also. He was charged with, he faced that trial to demolish the Babri Masjid. So there was this aspect of it which cannot be forgotten. But he was acquitted by a special court of the CBI in 2020 as well.
All right, Maria, condolence messages now coming through. Let me quickly read out some for our viewers there. Nitin Gadkari has tweeted saying, हमारे वरिष्ठ नेता आदरणीय कल्याण सिंह जी के निधन का समाचार सुनकर अत्यंत व्यथित हूं. And apart from him, Rajnath Singh, Dinesh Sharma have all tweeted about the passing of Kalyan Singh. Akhilesh Yadav, Samajwadi Party leader, has also tweeted about the demise of the former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Kalyan Singh. He's tweeted, Uttar Pradesh के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री, राजस्थान के पूर्व राज्यपाल श्री कल्याण सिंह जी का निधन, हृदय विदायक, दिवंगत आत्मा को शांति. This is what Akhilesh Yadav has tweeted. And now Prime Minister Modi's condolence message also out there on Twitter. I'm saddened beyond words. Kalyan Singh ji, statesman, veteran administrator, grassroots level leader and great human. He leaves behind an indelible contribution towards the development of Uttar Pradesh. Spoke to his son, Shri Rajveer Singh, and expressed condolences. Maria and Pranshu both remain with us on this story. Pranshu, I want to come back to you. Series of condolence messages there put out, and one important aspect that is being highlighted by most is about him being a grassroots politician there. Certainly the fact that he was an OBC leader representing the Lodi community being very important and crucial at this juncture, and that is why we are seeing this constant stress on that aspect as well. Is it, Pranshu?
Yes, of course. He was the leader of the masses, and I'll say, it's cutting across party lines. See, there were two contemporaries of UP politics. Kalyan Singh on one hand, the man grouted in Hindutva politics, coming in from a trolley eta, and the other man, of course, is Mulayam Singh Yadav, the Samajwadi Party patriarch, both almost of the same age. And we all know that how, despite being on the different ideological spectrums, they both shared a very good relationship. And to recall Kalyan Singh's political journey, one should also remember that in 2009, Kalyan Singh's Jan Loktantrik Party had gone into an alliance with the Samajwadi Party, and there was a lot of criticism which was there. So this was Kalyan Singh's political sharpness, his grouting in the mass politics, that he could even bridge relationships with people who are on the entirely opposite ideological spectrum. And Mulayam Singh's alliance with the Samajwadi Party in 2009 is a perfect example of that. So in that sense, Kalyan Singh was equally grounded man in politics, and that's the reason why, despite rising up to be at the rank of a national leader, being a nationally acclaimed Hindutva icon, he was well grounded in his constituency of Atrauli, and he never lost that constituency. He won that constituency for 8 times from 1967 onwards till the end of the 20th century. He held a continuous hold on his constituency. So yes, he was a big leader, person grounded in the mass politics. He had a hold on the pulse of the emerging caste politics, and even as he worked well on the Hindutva side of the political spectrum, he was also very cautious about the caste equations on the ground. And therefore Kalyan Singh is not just a merely leader of the Hindutva politics. He is also a big leader as far as the backward-dominated area of Western Uttar Pradesh, especially central UP areas of Etah, Etawa and all that belt is concerned. So Kalyan Singh in that sense was really a leader of masses. He was also a very great administrator.
Okay. Pranchu, I'll have to interrupt you there. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is speaking.
हम सब के लिए एक दुखद समाचार है। प्रदेश के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री, राजस्थान और हिमाचल के पूर्व राज्यपाल, भारतीय जनता पार्टी परिवार के वरिष्ठ सदस्य माननीय कल्याण सिंह जी हमारे बीच में नहीं रहे। विगत 2 माह से माननीय कल्याण सिंह जी अस्वस्थ थे, उनका उपचार चल रहा था। आज रात्रि में 9:15 बजे उन्होंने अंतिम सांस ली है। हम सब दुखी हैं। उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर मुख्यमंत्री के रूप में, एक जननेता के रूप में उन्होंने शासन में शुचिता, दृढ़ता, मूल्यों और आदर्शों के प्रति अपने कार्यकाल के दौरान जो आदर्श प्रस्तुत किए थे वो आज भी मानक बने हुए हैं। श्री राम जन्मभूमि मंदिर आंदोलन के वे अग्रणी नेता थे। मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम भगवान श्री राम के इस पावन स्थल पर भव्य राम मंदिर के निर्माण का कार्य आगे बढ़े। इसके लिए आवश्यकता पड़ी तो सत्ता छोड़ने में भी उन्हें कोई संकोच नहीं हुई। 6 दिसंबर 1992 को विवादित ढांचा गिरने के बाद सत्ता छोड़ने और इस बात की नैतिक जिम्मेदारी लेते हुए उन्होंने तत्काल मुख्यमंत्री पद से इस्तीफा दिया था। माननीय कल्याण सिंह जी का जाना न केवल समाज का, भारतीय राजनीति का, अपितु भारतीय जनता पार्टी परिवार की भी अपूर्णीय क्षति है। मैं दिवंगत आत्मा की शांति की कामना करता हूं। परिवार के सदस्यों से भी बातचीत हुई है प्रदेश के अंदर। अभी रात्रि में या कल सुबह ही हमारी कैबिनेट की बैठक होगी। शोक प्रस्ताव पारित होने के साथ ही माननीय कल्याण सिंह जी के प्रदेश के लिए, देश के लिए, भारतीय राजनीति के लिए, लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों के लिए किए गए योगदान के प्रति श्रद्धांजलि देने के साथ ही प्रदेश में 3 दिन के राजकीय शोक और जिस दिन यानी परसों सायंकाल नरोरा में गंगा जी के तट पर अंतिम संस्कार की कार्रवाई संपन्न होगी, यानी 23 अगस्त को प्रदेश के अंदर सार्वजनिक अवकाश घोषित रहेगा, जिससे हर व्यक्ति अपने दिवंगत नेता को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित कर सके। मैं प्रदेश शासन की ओर से भारत माता के ऐसे महान सपूत जिन्होंने आम जन की आकांक्षाओं के लिए संघर्षों से राह बना करके अपना जीवन समर्पित किया, उन्हें विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं। अभी माननीय कल्याण सिंह जी की भौतिक देह को लेकर के हम उनके आवास पे पहुंच रहे हैं। कल प्रातः आवास में, फिर विधान भवन में और उसके उपरांत पार्टी कार्यालय में जो भी शुभेच्छु होंगे वे उन्हें श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करेंगे। कल सायंकाल यहाँ से अलीगढ़ चलेंगे। अलीगढ़ वहाँ पर उनका भौतिक देह को अलीगढ़ की जनता का अपार स्नेह उन्हें प्राप्त हुआ था। वहाँ पर स्टेडियम में व्यवस्था की जा रही है। परसों पूर्वाहन में उनकी जो कर्म भूमि थी, जन्म भूमि थी अतरौली, वहाँ से अलीगढ़ से अतरौली में जाकर के जनता दर्शन के लिए का भौतिक देह रखा जाएगा और उसके उपरांत अपराह्न में नरोरा में अंतिम संस्कार की कार्रवाई पूरे राजकीय सम्मान के साथ संपन्न होगा। मैं इस अवसर पर प्रदेश शासन की ओर से, हमारे प्रदेश अध्यक्ष जी भी साथ में हैं, भारतीय जनता पार्टी परिवार की ओर से अपने दिवंगत नेता को विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं। ईश्वर से दिवंगत आत्मा की शांति की कामना करता हूं। शोक संतप्त परिजनों के प्रति हम सब ने अपनी संवेदना व्यक्त की है और सभी लोग, हर कार्यकर्ता को, पार्टी के प्रत्येक सदस्य को यह संबल प्राप्त हो कि हम उनके बताए हुए उन संघर्षों के रास्ते पर चल करके उत्तर प्रदेश के बारे में उन्होंने जो सपना देखा था उसको साकार करने में अपनी पूरी ताकत लगा दें।
That is the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, talking about Kalyan Singh passing away, also saying that there will be a 3 days mourning, and after which day after tomorrow is when the cremation will take place on the 23rd of August. Tomorrow, late evening, the mortal remains will be taken to Aligarh, and in Aligarh there are preparations on in a stadium for people to come and pay their last respects, after which the mortal remains will go to Atroli as well, and then day after tomorrow the cremation will take place. Tonight, late night or tomorrow morning, a cabinet meeting will be held in Uttar Pradesh to pass a resolution on condolence on the passing away of the former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, that is Kalyan Singh. Both Pranshu and Maria are with us, getting us more on this. Maria, coming to you, the manner in which this is being done over 3 days period also taking the model remains to Aligarh, from where he belongs, and then a trolley for the people to come and pay their last respects, also in some sense goes to show his relevance for the BJP even now, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, Maha, look, he was the first OBC Hindutva icon for the BJP. He was the one who redefined the BJP's politics in Hindi heartland. You know, he was the one in many ways who was responsible for BJP's caste calculation, and also in many ways widening and broadening of the BJP's Hindutva vote bank, particularly keeping in mind the Hindi heartland where the BJP was looking at expanding its footprint. And particularly in the 1980s, you know, Kalyan Singh, when the BJP was founded and established, posed that the relevance of him when he was the chief minister of UP becomes very, very crucial. You know, that he was seen as someone who was the tallest and the most influential leader as far as this very crucial Lodh community in UP is concerned. Even today, they are around 5% in UP, but they play an important role in sending the message that the BJP is no longer a party of a particular upper caste, just upper caste, but it has acceptability across castes in Uttar Pradesh. And that is the reason why we saw arrival of Yogi Adityanath in 2015 in UP, 2017 in UP election, where he won with that kind of majority. Of course, 2014 onwards, we have seen UP vote overwhelmingly for Prime Minister Narendra Modi every election, giving over 70 seats. So I think the relevance of Kalyan Singh is, you know, it's positioned in a way that the minister says that he was, of course, the former chief minister who is being given the kind of protocol that is being followed, that will be followed in the next phase, is something that is about him, his contribution to the party, ideology of Hindutva, the overall his relevance in politics even today. At the same time, the fact that he contested and he was in Aligarh at family in 2017 election, you know, a family member was contesting, and then the relevance, of course, was that in that particular bet, he enjoyed clout and support even today.
All right. Let me go across to Pranshu now, but before that, let's quickly read out what Mayawati has tweeted. BSP Supremo, भाजपा के कद्दावर नेता व उत्तर प्रदेश के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री एवं राजस्थान के पूर्व राज्यपाल रहे श्री कल्याण सिंह के निधन की खबर अति दुखद, उनके परिवार व समर्थकों आदि के प्रति मेरी गहरी संवेदना. Let me go across to Pranshu Mishra now. Pranshu, as Maria has been mentioning, you know, one of the reasons for this relevance of Kalyan Singh, of course, and you've also been mentioning that, is the caste factor as well. How relevant then is his family still for the BJP? What about his son, grandson, both of them in politics?
Yes, see, you know, the BJP doesn't actually patronizes the family. So if you talk about family's clout, I'll say, you know, the family itself is not an entity. The fact is that, yes, Kalyan Singh's son, Rajbir, he is a member of parliament. Kalyan Singh's grandson, he is also the minister here in the Yogi cabinet. So the family still holds, you know, influence as far as the particular belt of the Lodhi-dominated belt, the MBC belt of Eta and Aligarh region are concerned. So in that sense, yes, the family has carried forward the legacy. But more than that, I think, you know, the Kalyan Singh has done the formidable job of firmly bringing the OBCs into the BJP's gallery. You know, if you remember, see, what happened since 2014 onwards was that it was Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah at that point in time who actually structured the recoming back of the OBCs or the non-Yadav OBCs into the party fold. But way back 20 years before that, way back in late 80s and early 90s, it was Kalyan Singh who had already experimented and has successfully brought the OBCs into the BJP fold, though later on they had moved away. Now, Mayawati's tweet also reminds of a very interesting fact that it was only Kalyan Singh's talent that he has also forged in the working relations with Mayawati. Recall the period of 1995 when there was a 6 months of agreement. So for first 6 months, it was Mayawati who was the chief minister, and then of course it was Kalyan Singh who was actually coming to power. And then we of course saw that how Mayawati dished the government, and then subsequent political instability,
All right.
was seen in Uttar Pradesh. But Kalyan Singh was competent enough to work also with Kalyan Singh and also with Mayawati.
All right, Pranshu and Maria, both of them getting us the details there of the political relevance of the former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Kalyan Singh, who's passed away late tonight at the PGI hospital in Lucknow. These are pictures that have come in from PGI Lucknow. With that, we're taking a very quick break.
To give their children a better life. Inside the airport, the desperation even greater. Men tying themselves to the wheels of an American C-17 to fly away to safety. It was a suicide mission. The three men knew it. When they dropped to the ground, no one knew who they were. Now we do. One of them was 19-year-old Zaki Anwari, a member of the Afghan national football team. With Natasha Menden in New Delhi, I'm Shreya Dhondial.
Taliban terrorists marched into Kabul this week. Well, marched is wrong because in those tight kurta pajamas that they wear, it's very tough to actually march. Your knee gets caught in that and you'll trip and fall. So it's more like without bending the knees walk. It's like old people walking who have broken knees, that kind of thing. All right, they marched in, whether you like it or not, and took full control of Afghanistan and said the Taliban plans to soon declare a new Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan 2 decades after they were removed by the US military. So let's go straight to the presidential palace in Kabul. The world is very upset about what America has done and very worried about what will happen to Afghanistan. And let's speak to the official spokesperson, Suhail Shaheen. This may be the real guy or it may be a cheap actor. Can't tell. I'm sure you can. Mr. Suhail Shaheen, interesting name.
Yes, don't get me wrong. It's Suhail Shaheen. Not to be mistaken with Suhail Seth.
I would not use both in the same sentence. Suhail Seth is a friend of mine. I know the difference.
Just saying, because I too know the difference. The difference is that Suhail Shaheen shoots the people. Suhail Seth only shoots off his mouth.
Why would you bring that up? Anyway, I also know another Suhail, Suhail Khan.
Yes, there we may have a bit of a similarity.
What is the similarity between Suhail Khan and you?
Both of us are handsome and good looking.
Finally, a joke by our new writer, Kunal Vijayakar. Now that can be debated, sir. Let's move on and talk about the interesting things.
But there is a difference.
Oh, God, back to that. What's the difference?
After 20 years, this Suhail has finally got a hit. After 20 years, Suhail Khan is still looking for a hit.
You don't have to, underline what you're trying to say. We understood what you were trying to say. And by the way, have you seen Aryan? It was a hit.
What?
It was a great film and it was a hit. Okay, let's get back to Afghanistan and talk about the foreigners. All the countries are closing their consulates and are getting out. The foreigners are fleeing.
Please read my statement carefully. We assure all diplomats, embassies, consulates, no problem will be created for them. In fact, secure environment will be provided to them.
See, I'm smiling, not because I don't believe you, but because you just look very ravishing in a certain way. Really, a secure environment.
Yes, we shall keep them securely locked behind the bars.
Right, and hence there's fear everywhere. You can't blame people, everyone is leaving. Have you seen the footage of Afghanis trying to board a plane at the airport? I mean, the desperate situation that they've got themselves into, the fear, the fact that there's no hope. Have a look at this footage.
We're getting information that former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Kalyan Singh has passed away. In fact, this announcement has been made now. The condition of the former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Kalyan Singh had been in fact deteriorating for some time and he was placed on dialysis. He was in Lucknow at the Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, that is the SGPGIMS, and this announcement has now been made that the former Chief Minister has passed away. An important part of the BJP who was part of the Mandir movement as well for the party, he has now passed away. Kalyan Singh has died at the age of 89. Former Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Kalyan Singh, dead at the age of 89. He was ailing for some time, in fact was undergoing dialysis as well. He has passed away in Lucknow at PGI Lucknow. Meanwhile, what we are also picking up is that Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has rushed to PGI, and it is only after that that the announcement of Kalyan Singh passing away was made. Pranshu Mishra is now joining us for more. Pranshu, a formal announcement coming in from the hospital?
Yes, that's right. Just a minute back, the official announcement from the hospital has come. Kalyan Singh, former Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, former Governor of Rajasthan, has passed at the age of 89, and he was battling for life for past more than 1 month. He was critical. He was on ventilator, and he was on the life support system for past almost a month. So a big loss for the Bharatiya Janata Party. We all know that Kalyan Singh was not just the pioneer of the Ram Temple movement. He was hailed as a natural leader by the RSS way back in 1991. So that was a very historical moment as far as Kalyan Singh's political journey was concerned. Though Kalyan Singh had been a member of Legislative Assembly on the ticket of Jansangh right from 1967 onwards, but he was projected as a natural leader only in the backdrop of Ram Mandir agitation, the Ayodhya agitation. And in 1991, when BJP was on the threshold of getting to power, there was a lot of competition, internal rivalries, and one-upmanship going on in the BJP. And that point in time, Kalyan Singh, the backward mascot, remember, Kalyan Singh in UP's politics was a prominent backward leader from the Lodhi community, and for the BJP, which was till that point in time was seen more as a party of upper caste, RSS has come forward to say that Kalyan Singh is our natural leader. So Kalyan Singh was not just a Hindutva icon. I mean, his importance in UP's politics is that he was not just a Hindutva icon, he was also the caste harbinger. He was also the person who could manage the caste arithmetic for the Bharatiya Janata Party along with the saffron wave of Hindutva. So in that sense, he was termed as a natural leader. Today, that natural leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the natural leader of the RSS, he has passed away. And though it's not the moment to talk about politics, Maha, but his death will clearly be, also holds a lot of significance, or could actually play a lot of significance as far as the coming elections are concerned, where we all know that backward caste politics is the most defining aspect of the larger caste equation.
But, Pranshu, he had been ailing for some time. How active was he politically before that, as well as take us through the time that he had left the BJP?
Yes. Well, see, replying to your first question, he wasn't active in, quite active in, I'll say, in the active politics right since times of 2014. And after that, he was, immediately, later on, he was appointed as the governor of Rajasthan. He remained the governor of Rajasthan, and after being, completing the 5 years there as governor of Rajasthan, he was almost, retired. He, of course, towards the last days of his years, he was a happy man because he was cleared of all charges as far as the demolition case was concerned. And I think Kalyan Singh once in a press conference to us has said that he will die a happy man if he actually sees that construction work starting. So that high point was also achieved during his life. Now, as far as his relationship with the BJP were concerned, see, they were, both hot and cold relationships. So we all know that someone who was pitched in as a natural leader way back in late 80s and became the first chief minister of BJP in Uttar Pradesh was also forced to leave the party in 1999. And at that point in time, it was said that he was, actually not happy with the way center was treating him. There was much speculation about his differences with leaders like late Atal Bihari Vajpayee at that point in time, and even for that matter, Rajnath Singh, who is the defense minister at the moment. Then he had a ghar wapsi to the BJP back in sometime around in 2004. But then that relationship still, was not very smooth. And in 2009, he again left the party only to come back sometime back in the party in 2013. And the interesting point was that it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi at that point in time. He was the prime ministerial face. He took upon himself ensured that Kalyan Singh comes back into the party. And since then, Kalyan Singh was a loyal soldier for the party. Yes, there was moments in his political journey when he said that, BJP is the biggest critic. He'll never go back to the BJP RSS fold. But then he came back. The natural leader did come back to the BJP. And then, of course, the party also gave him a lot of respect and the honor which needs. But the point to be mentioned here is that among the leadership, the younger leadership of the BJP, Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself, Amit Shah himself, all being very young to him, all being groomed by Kalyan Singh at one point in time, will ensure that he comes back to the party when era of Mr. Modi started in the national politics of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So in that sense, I'll say the present-day leadership, both Union Home Minister Amit Shah and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, were the key persons way back in 2012 and 2013 who convinced Kalyan Singh to come back to the Bharatiya Janata Party. And therefore, we saw over the period of past 1 month that how concerned himself, Prime Minister Amit Shah, JP Nadda, every central leadership was concerned about the well-being of Kalyan Singh. So I think Kalyan Singh was fortunate to not just have bridged the ties with the Bharatiya Janata Party, but also get the same respect he aspired for from the present leadership of the party.
And we're already seeing condolences coming in from the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, who has already now put out his statement with regards to the passing away of Kalyan Singh. As Pranshu is pointing out, very important OBC face for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Also, very important as far as the Mandir movement is concerned. What you can see on your television screens at the moment are pictures coming in from PGI Lucknow. That is where Kalyan Singh was admitted, and late this evening, just a short while back, there were reports that Kalyan Singh has passed away, and this confirmation has now come from the hospital as well. Let me go back to Pranshu for more on this. Pranshu, let's talk a bit about the Mandir movement, the ups and downs that Kalyan Singh himself saw personally in that movement, also because he was one of the accused and was acquitted only in 2020 by the court on account of inconclusive evidence.
Yes, Kalyan Singh's rise from in politics, that clearly is related to the temple movement. And Kalyan Singh, as I said earlier on, he was always grounded in the ideology of Jansangh. He started his public life as a school teacher there in Natroli. He was a teacher of social sciences at the government college in Natroli. Then in 1967, he left the government job. He got fully involved with